Today, your surefire daily updates. My name is Cynthia Mutua. Consider me your informant. Now, today we have a unique lineup of stories for you guys. Per usual, we're going to be covering the story of Faith Kipyegon, our very own winner, champion at the marathonics that have been going on. We're going also to be covering the story of a Somalia plane crash that unfortunately went down just the recent day. We're also going to be covering the story of a neurologist who hacked his brain and almost lost his mind. Also, if you love Skittles, I might have some bad news for you. Now let's start with the story of the day. Our very own Faith Kipyegon. Faith Kipyegon has made Kenya proud again. The 1500, that is meter champion, has won Kenya the first gold after clocking 3 minutes, 52 seconds and 96 milliseconds in the World Athletic Championship finals. This has been going on in Oregon. She finished first ahead of Ethiopia's Gadaf Segei, who came in second at 3 minutes 54 seconds. For the silver medal, and British Laura Muir clocked in 3 minutes and 55 seconds. For bronze at that position. This win impressively makes her the first ever female athlete to win 4 1500 meters world medals. Kipyegon has finally reclaimed the world title that she lost in 2019 to Sifan Hassan from the Netherlands. Sifan Hassan did not take part in this year's 1500 meter race because he was back at home. He was nursing some ailments. Speaking after her victory, Kipyegon said she knew she would win and she knew she was the best, and she was prepared to defend her title from 2017 that was snatched from her. She is also very proud to fly the Kenyan flag high. Other Kenyan athletes who have won medals at the ongoing championships in Oregon are Helen Obiri and Margaret Chelimo. They have won their first silver and bronze in the women's 10,000 meter race, and Stanley Wathaka Mburu has also won a silver medal in the men's 10,000 meters race. So we applaud our Kenyan athletes for representing us very well in Oregon at the moment. Well, you've heard of plane crashes. Well, this is a case of a plane flipping. So a plane has flipped over on landing at an airport in Somalia's capital. The reason it was termed as a crash is because the flipping was not a stunt, meaning it wasn't intentional. Good news is there were no fatalities among the 36 people on board. In a dramatic footage shot near the airport in Mogadishu, one can see thick black smoke rising from the upside-down plane as firefighters extinguish the flames. The passengers and the crew were all rescued, according to the airport authorities who were quoted by state media. Now on to the next story of a man who hacked his brain and almost lost his mind in the process. This is the story of Phil Kennedy. Phil Kennedy is a dedicated neurologist. He dedicated his life to the dream of building better cyborgs and developing a way to fully digitize a person's thoughts. You have heard of hypotheticals, whereby it is possible to upload one's own thoughts to the computer, right? Well, Phil Kennedy has already tested that. To better understand neurology, he was willing to do the unthinkable, tap into his own healthy brain in an 11.5-hour surgery. After the surgery was done and the anesthesia worn off, the neurosurgeon who conducted the procedure tested whether his brain was back to functioning normally. In a simple test, he removed his wireframe glasses, held them up for his bandaged patient to examine, and asked, "What are these called?" Phil Kennedy stared at the glasses for a moment. Then his gaze drifted up to the ceiling and over to the television. He started stammering. He could not say a word. Joel Cervantes, who is the surgeon that conducted the procedure, tried to remain calm. Again, Kennedy attempted to respond. It looked as if he was trying to force his brain to work, like someone with a sore throat who bears down to swallow. When Kennedy had arrived at the airport in Belize City for the surgery a few days earlier, he had been lucid and precise. The 66-year-old had the looks of a stiff, authoritative, good-looking TV doctor, but Kennedy still wanted a brain surgery, even though his brain was healthy. and he was willing to pay 30,000 US dollars to have it done in spite of having a healthy brain. That's a staggering 3 million Kenyan shillings. In the late 1990s, Phil Kennedy made global headlines for implanting several wire electrodes in the brain of a paralyzed man and teaching him to control a computer cursor with his mind. He even helped Johnny Ray, a 52-year-old Vietnam veteran who had suffered a brain stroke, to type with his mind. When the FDA banned him for using his implants on any more human subjects, he decided that the only way to advance his project was to make it personal. For his next breakthrough, he will tap into a healthy human brain, his own. The implantation of a set of glass and gold wire electrodes beneath the surface of his brain. This seemed to go quite well. There wasn't much bleeding during the surgery or after. But his recovery was fraught with problems. 2 days in, Kennedy was sitting on his bed when all of a sudden his jaw began to grind and chatter. And one of his hands began to shake. Porton, who is one of the people who was involved in the procedure, was worried that the seizure would break Kennedy's teeth. His language problems persisted as well. He wasn't making sense anymore. He kept apologizing because he couldn't say anything else. He kept on saying sorry, sorry, according to the people who heard him. Kennedy could still utter syllables and a few scattered words, but he seemed to have lost the glue that bound them into phrases and sentences. So that means he could only talk word per word. When Kennedy grabbed a pen and tried to write a message, it came out as random letters scrawled on a page. It was at that moment, as they usually say, that his neurosurgeon knew he messed up. I thought we had damaged him for life. That is his neurosurgeon speaking to the tabloids. His spouse felt no remorse for him neither, since she tried to stop him, but he wouldn't listen. With time, however, he got better, and back at home, Kennedy had already started using this system to record his own brain signals in a months-long battery of experiments. His goal was to crack the neural code of human speech. What if Kennedy could build a brain-computer interface that flowed as smoothly as a healthy person's speech? A very hard task, given that human speech is immensely complicated. It requires the coordination of more than 100 different muscles. Looking at his face, you notice that the operation has left his handsome face with an asymmetric droop. He says he now can't lift one eyebrow. He still believes we can extract our brains and connect them to computers, and that will do everything for us. Kennedy believes that way our brains will live on. So this is the story of Phil Kennedy, a neurologist who put his own brain literally on the line so that he could test whether human beings in the future could upload you could upload your brains on a computer so that they can live on later, even when you're dead. Well, moving on to the story we talked about with the Skittles. What are your favorite color Skittles? Can't choose? Well, don't even think about it. If you love Skittles, I might have some slightly bad news for you. A consumer filed a lawsuit on Thursday against Mars Inc. That is the company that produces the Skittles. The producer, the claim said that the Skittles are unfit for human consumption. The lawsuit, which was filed in California federal court, alleges that the candy contains heightened levels of titanium dioxide. If you've eaten Skittles, you'll notice there's a sign of TiO2 on the package that represents titanium dioxide. Apparently, the company has long known of the health problems linked to the candy's chemicals. A company spokesperson said in a statement that, while we do not comment on pending litigation, our use of titanium dioxide complies with FDA regulations. Titanium dioxide has been used in foods, paint, and cosmetics since the late 1940s. According to Forbes, earlier this year, the EU announced that it was banning the chemical as a food additive. So that's some bad news for Skittles lovers. Well, we are going to be talking about the cases of, you've heard of Ebola virus. Now, there's a virus that has come back that is called the Marburg virus, and it has been confirmed in Ghana. Also, when you come back, we're going to be discussing today's trailblazer, a man who can make a flying ship. This is coming back right after the break.
Right from inception, the Daesak Media Services Limited has been committed to resolving the deficiency of net where these values thrive for the well-being of all.
We strongly believe that every human has a right and a responsibility to self-actual potential, but that
media outlets use innovative broadcasts to highlight social challenges and chart the way forward to a progressive future where the elders embrace the energy of the young, while the young acknowledge the wisdom of their elders.
At Daesak Media Services Limited, we have infused technical diligence to ensure that we are accessible at the convenience of you, our audience. Here, we employ creativity and calculated logic to ensure that our news are accurate, fair, relevant, and timely, and that our shows are fascinating. Our rate card is determined by our resolve to maintain a balance between the industry standards and giving our investors great value.
Please join us in our deep-rooted commitment to bridge the gap between status quo and the future we desire for the current and future generations.
Daesak Media Services Limited,
where successful businesses
connect.
Thanks very much for staying with us. This is What's Up Today, your Surefire daily updates. So if you're just joining us, this is a show that gives you all trending topics of the day and important topics that are going on in the world and how they matter to you. So on to today's Did You Know segment. How much do you know about a virus called Marburg virus? Well, the coronavirus hit us. Well, we didn't know. And then after that came the monkeypox, and now we have the Marburg virus. So the Marburg virus has already been discovered right now in Ghana. 2 cases of the deadly Marburg virus have been confirmed in Ghana. Marburg is a highly infectious disease in the same family as the virus that causes Ebola. Both patients who are diagnosed with Marburg died recently in hospital in the southern Ashanti region, and health officials say 98 people are now under quarantine as suspected contact cases. No treatment yet exists for Marburg, but doctors say drinking plenty of water is one of the cures, and treating specific symptoms improves a patient's chances of survival. Marburg was first detected in Marburg, Germany. That's why it was called Marburg. Its last major outbreak was in 2005 in Angola. It is a severe, often fatal illness with symptoms including headache, fever, muscle pains, vomiting blood, and bleeding. The World Health Organization, which is supporting Ghana's health authorities, has praised the countries for its swift response for that. So this is a disease that is spread through bodily fluids. You might be careful of that. Also, it's spread by fruit flies and fruit bats. So you might take care of yourself so that that doesn't happen to you. Now on to today's trailblazer. This is a man who is making news already. This is a man who can make a flying ship. Well, this is called the Candela P2. At the first glance, you might ask yourself, is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it a ferry? Is it a flying ship? It looks futuristic. Candela P12 is an electric hydrofoil ferry that could be the future of public transportation. This boat, it's a waterbound fantasy so far. The boat consists of hydrofoils cutting through the water and sails 3 feet above sea. It leaves virtually no wake. It leaves no noise. It has no emissions. It is a sea change from the hulking diesel-powered ferries that currently haul commuters. The boat will also cut carbon emissions in the future. And that's good news given that ferries, most of which are powered by diesel, are a major environmental headache. EU data shows ferries represent 3% of all vessels that make up 10% of carbon emissions. That is close to 40,000 tons of emissions. Candela CEO Gustav Hazelkog, that is today's trailblazer. He says that shipping has to stop using fossil fuel. And this has to happen very fast due to the carbon emissions that shipping and all other traveling means have been emitting to the environment. But Candela believes there is more to cleaning up commuter traffic than emissions-free energy. This is why they have made ferries quick enough to persuade more people to ditch cars. A place which usually takes 50 minutes by car during rush hour can now take 25 minutes, given that the P12 can hit 48 kilometers per hour. The problem with powering any form of transport with electricity is it requires heavy batteries. That's a particular problem for boats as they suffer drag in the water. To address this, Candela uses hydrofoils. Now, hydrofoils are legs that extend down into the water and act like wings. So they propel the boat up in the air as it picks up speed like an aircraft during takeoff. In the harbor, the foils are fully retracted, so they are protected. But then you lower the foils and hit the throttle and off it goes. The control system takes care of the entire takeoff sequence, and it's like an airplane. It can run 3 hours before requiring charging again. The Candela sits at 12 meters in length, 4.5 meters across, and weighs 8.5 metric tons. It is also expected to carry 30 seated passengers. Inside, it looks like a futuristic airplane. At these high speeds, one can be worried they might lose their breakfast on the morning commute. Say perhaps it goes through the window. But it has already covered this, since the Candela has sensors that feed into an automated control system to adjust the height and roll and pitch up to 100 times a second to ensure a smooth ride. This is regardless of the weather. Through the control system, it can cut out any vertical movements of the boat, which is what tends to cause seasickness. So far, nobody has gotten seasick on the Candela boats. All of that means that the Candela P12, when built, should use less energy per passenger than a hybrid electric bus. It can go faster than a car, and it can bring fuel and maintenance costs by 40%. While Swedish startup Candela is already manufacturing leisure versions of its electric flying boats, the P12 has yet to be built, but it is already making news. As you can see, the boat, as the CEO of the company says, it is in the phase of design for manufacturing, ahead of a November launch that will be followed by a trial next year. So that is today's trailblazer, a man who is looking into the future and being an environmentalist all while at it. Make sure to look the Candela P12. Well, it's launching in November. We can't wait to try it next year. And that's what's up today. My name is Cynthia Mutua. See you next time. same time, same place.